All right. So I'm going to go over a couple of concepts with you guys that we do teach in the Relationship Real Estate Workshop. This is one of the most popular segments, actually, because overcoming objections can be really difficult, whether it's at an open house, whether it's on the phone, whether it's you have a client that's being a little bit difficult or they're not wanting to pull the trigger. You're dealing with objections all the time. And sometimes if you're not properly trained, you just give up and you just let them go, basically. So we like to play a little game on my team called Go for No. There's a book out there called Go for No. I recommend that everybody get it. It's literally 84 pages. And instead of looking at objections and people saying no to you, like they're refusing you personally, you start to play a game with it. I actually give awards away on my team for who gets the most no's every year. And it is not inevitably the same person who has the most sales. So they usually win both awards. And we look at no as a form of rejection towards ourselves. And the bottom line is that no now, number one, doesn't mean no forever. And no now means that maybe you just need to reorganize your question and ask them again in a different way. Sometimes if you ask the same question in 3 different ways, or you use a couple of these techniques that I'm going to give you now, you will all of a sudden get a yes. So it becomes a game in your mind instead of looking at it as this horrible rejection where they don't like you or they don't care about you or they don't care what you have to say. So definitely get the book. That's one of my number one things that I tell anybody that joins my team or anybody that joins under the group is get that book first and foremost so that you're not taking objections as rejection and that you keep moving forward. So the first concept I want to talk about today, and I apologize, guys, I did not have my PowerPoint all ready for this. So you guys are going to have to take notes because this was totally last minute and we didn't want to break it out of what we do for the workshop. That would have taken too much time. We didn't have time for that. So the first concept I want to go over today is a takeaway. A takeaway is really, really strong when it comes to different personalities and personality types. Next week, by the way, George has asked me to teach on the personalities, the 4 personalities and DISC training. So I'll be back on, I think, next Tuesday for that, again, for that masterclass. All right, the takeaway. Always remember, people want what they can't have. And takeaways can be very, very scary when you're working with a client. You're like, oh my gosh, if I take it away, what if they take me up on it and they decide not to do anything at all? You have to learn how to be decently bold. And we have several different methods of takeaways. Sasha was actually just talking at the last workshop about how she uses my takeaway when you're working with people and you're showing them properties. When I'm showing people properties, I have a clipboard and I'm going to talk to you guys about a physical takeaway first. And with that clipboard, it has all of the properties that we're going to be seeing that are their copy. The first home that we go to at the end of that property viewing, I will ask them, okay, guys, is this a yes, a no, or a maybe? And I'm always hoping that they're going to say no, because then I'm going to have them physically give me that paper. And I'm going to rip it up in front of them and put it underneath my papers. That is a physical takeaway. I literally am taking the property out of their hands, ripping it up and putting it in my clipboard. And they look at me and they're like, oh, wait, you just ripped it. Well, yeah, you said it's a no. And now they're second guessing their choice because I took it away from them. And then every time we go to a property after that, I'm asking them, I'm like, okay, guys, is this a yes, a no, or a maybe? And they're like clenching on to their clipboard. And they're like, no. You're like, you can't have my clipboard. Like, you can't have my paper. This is my property. And they don't want you to take their paper. So they're taking extra time to look at every single home to make sure that it's 100% a no, because they know that if it's a no, I'm going to take that paper from them. Now, they don't think in their mind that I have the same property on my clipboard and I didn't rip up my copy. That's not what they're thinking about. They're thinking about that I'm going to take their piece of paper. That's all they care about in that moment. And it makes them think 2 and 3 times over is this a no? Is she going to take my paper? Maybe I need to look at the home again before she takes my paper. Because once I take it, they don't feel like they can have it back. Now, another form of a takeaway, a physical takeaway, is I'm at a listing presentation and one of the people is not involved. They're like, arms are folded, they're sitting back, they're not in. You know they're not in, and it's the body language that's telling you that they don't care what you have to say, you're not getting this listing. Then why go over the numbers with them? So I literally will take my papers off of the table and I will put them back in my bag. And then I'll sit back and I'll mimic their body language, arms folded. Now, Hank is going to look at me and he's going to be like, well, what are you doing? I want to see the numbers. And I will actually say to Frank, well, Frank, I'm not convinced that you want to sell this property. I mean, you're going to have to tell me if I'm wrong. Go ahead and share with me if I'm wrong. But if you're not really interested in selling this property, then why would I show you the numbers? Because the numbers don't matter. That is a strong takeaway. And it's funny because my team, they're always sitting there with me, right? And I feel their invisible shields come around. They're like, because they're like, oh my gosh, it's coming. They're going to scream. They never scream. All of a sudden, Hank will lean into the table and he'll be like, well, no, I really want to see what the home is worth, what the property is worth. Can you share it with me? And I'm like, well, you're going to have to convince me on why you want to see the numbers, because I'm not convinced you really care. And I make them sell me on why they want to sell their property. Now I'm going to stop there for a minute, because I know some of you are going, oh my gosh, like, how does that work? Like, holy crap. Okay. So let's talk about that for a minute. What are your thoughts when I say that to you? Number one, what is your fear?
No fear.
No,
I think
no fear.
No fear. But I think it's a different way of thinking, because you're really putting the power back on them to tell you what it is that you need to listen for in order to reach them.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why people sell. You're just trying to get to motivation. What's motivating him? I mean, does he really need to move? Does he, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So what's motivating him?
Right. And if I don't take those numbers off the table, and if I just freely give them to him, I'm never going to find out what he's really thinking. So I have to do something almost like a shock factor. And a takeaway is one of those shock factors where it's like, wait a minute, she's not going to show me, which means now I'm going to have somebody else come out, or like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so they really want to know, but they're playing like they don't want to know. So you've got to get that out on the table. You have to. And here's what I want you guys to remember with these techniques. You have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain. If you walk out of this listing presentation and you've showed them the numbers and you haven't gotten their true feelings and thoughts out on the table, why were you even there wasting your time? You have to get it out. And the takeaway is the best way to do that. Now, and let's say that his wife, Jean, is like, well, no, I want to see the numbers. I want to see the numbers. Like, let's see the numbers. Okay, Jean, I totally understand that you want to sell this property. I understand. But Jean, I'm not convinced Hank wants to sell. And if you two are not on the same page, why am I here? So share with me what it is. Now, there's also something called a soft takeaway. Now, most people don't tell you about a soft takeaway, okay? But I do. I use them all the time. Somebody comes into my open house and they're like, well, no, I'm not really looking right now, blah, 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 blah. But all of a sudden they're telling you their whole list of everything that they're looking for, even though they're not really looking. I want you to put something in your brain as well. When people say, well, I'm not really looking right now. Okay, well, if you were looking, what would you be looking for? You redirect the question back at them and they don't even catch it and they start answering you. It's like that, okay? So I want to say that again, right? So if they say, no, I'm not really looking right now or whatever. Okay, well, if you were looking right now, what would you be looking for? And it works with anything. But the soft takeaway in this is after they tell you everything that they're looking for, and you've got to play the pauses perfectly. You know, I have an idea. It may work for you. It may not. You'll have to let me know. I'm thinking that I could set you up on a search, maybe a couple of days a week. And, you know, that way you can start to get educated on the market. And who knows, you might actually find something that you really want to take a look at. You may not. But I mean, do you think that might work for you? It's just an idea that I had. Now, notice, I already know what I'm going to say, but the pauses matter. Don't be quick to like start spewing out everything you know. Don't tell instead of sell. You've really got to hone them in where you're like, you know, I have a thought. And you have to do that. It may work for you. It may not. You'll have to let me know, because it takes all of the pressure off of them completely and makes them feel like they have a choice. But when I give it back to them, I'm giving them the direction that I want them to say yes to. So I have an idea. It may work for you. It may not. You'll have to let me know. But you know what I was thinking is I could set up a search a couple days a week for you just so that you can get educated on the market. And you never know, you might find something that you find really intriguing and that you want to go take a look at. How do you feel about that? Would that work for you? Very rarely do I get a no to that answer. And if I do get a no with that answer, it's because they're legitimately not looking right now, or they have an agent, or whatever the case may be. And whatever that objection is that they were talking about, the truth is going to come out in this moment. Or they may get real with you in that moment. You know, it's not that I'm not really looking right now. The situation is I'm waiting for this money to come in. And it hasn't come in yet. Oh, when were you hoping for that money to come in? And you start diving deeper into your first, second, and third level questions. Now, with some of this stuff, I'm speaking Greek to you guys, and I'm sorry. These are mini classes for everything that I teach, right? So I have to say that. So that's a takeaway. You're going to take it away. You're going to give it back. You're going to give it back in the direction that you want them to answer you. Works amazing with kids and works amazing with significant others, as long as they're not in sales. Because if you do a takeaway with a significant other, they're going to look at you and be like, oh, did you just do a takeaway on me? That doesn't work on me. I'm immune. I go into a car dealership or anything else and they do a takeaway on me. And I'm like, listen, I could teach you how to sell like every day of the week and you would still keep learning. Don't do those techniques on me. So, all right, before I move on to the next strategy, I'm going to open it up to you guys for any questions regarding the takeaway. And you guys are going to get a segment where you get to throw objections at me, and I'm going to use all of these with you. Any questions before we move on? No, we're good. Thumbs up, everybody. Okay.
I'm trying to talk. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have clients who are buyers. They've already submerged themselves online, found all the available properties. They have a packet of what they want to see. I'm like, no, you can't do that. I have to call each one to see and blah, blah, blah. And I just have a hard time with those doers that go and go and go and get ahead of me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%. Takeaways are going to work really well with your drivers, guys. There's no better way to put a driver or a high D in check than to use a takeaway to bring them there. And the reason for that is because a driver definitely does not want you guys to tell them they can't do something, can't have something, or are not capable of something. And I really want you to think about that. The best way to put a driver or a high D in check is to call them out on their nonsense. But they also have to feel like they're in control. And they don't realize that when you do a takeaway, you're taking it away, you're giving it back. You're giving it back to them in the direction that you want them to answer they have a choice, right? They have a choice, but you've already planted it in their mind the way you want them to respond to you. And they don't even think about it because they feel like they're in control. Drivers and high Ds always need to feel like they're in control. Okay, good. Moving on. So the next one is feel, felt, found. Feel, felt, found is an old technique in sales. And over time, when you start to really master it, you can even start to plug in different words. But feel, felt, found is one of those things where you're empathizing with somebody and how they feel. You're letting them know that other people feel the same way. And then you're giving them the story of the other people, even if you've created it, even if it's your opinion, that makes them feel like it's not your opinion. And here's why. Third-party stories are the next one, and it's the same way. Your clients may not like you. I know, it's hard to believe. They've worked with you now. You've gone and looked at several properties. They may not value your opinion. They may not see you as the true professional that you are. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow, but that's reality in sales. At this point, they've already signed a buyer broker agreement with you. They're already working with you. You already know everything they want. They're going to keep going out with you, but they may not trust everything that you say. Feel, felt, found is a way to overcome that. So let me give you some examples of this. I have a client who absolutely loves big open kitchens. And I'm showing her a property that has a big galley kitchen in the back. It has the countertop space she wanted and everything else, but it's not open. And immediately as salespeople, we would want to go into the realm of, oh yeah, you can open up these walls and you can make it all open to the rest of the home. And we go into all this stuff. And what our clients are thinking is money, 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 money. So I want to caution you guys with that. But if you use feel, felt, found and put in a story of somebody else, it softens it a little bit. So, you know, Sophie, I understand why you feel that way with the big open kitchen. Many of my clients have felt the same way in the past. And one of my clients in particular felt exactly like you. And we came into this model and she saw this huge galley kitchen and she was like, Tina, I don't think I can do it. She was even considering opening up this wall to make it open to the rest of the home. Were you thinking that too? Yeah. Okay. Well, here's what she found. When she moved in, she called me and she said, Tina, I was wrong. I love this kitchen. Whenever people walk into the home, they can't see all my dirty dishes. I can be doing whatever I want back there and then bring it out and present. I still have the island over there on the side, like I made a little bar over there, so they can still sit there and talk to me if they want to, but I don't have to worry about my kitchen being pristine every second of every day in case somebody comes over. And she loved all of the counter space in this kitchen as well and said that it was so functional because it was that perfect V shape where she had the refrigerator, the stove, the dishwasher, and everything was so convenient. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but it sounds like it seemed to work out pretty well for her. What are your thoughts on that after hearing her story? You see how I'm able to give a compelling story with it. I empathize with the feelings. I let her know that she's not alone. And then I give her a story of somebody else that's had success with the things that she was concerned about and even decided not to open up the wall because she liked it so much. It's not your opinion at that point. It's what somebody else found. So I'll give you another example. We had a client that was concerned about the economy. And she had emailed us and said, you know, based on the economy, I don't know what the housing prices are going to do. And we're going to start getting this a lot right now, guys. And she's like, so I just don't know if it's the right time to buy because the stock market and everything else. And so I helped my agent construct an email back to her. It was, Dear Lucy, we completely understand how you feel. Many of our clients have felt the same way in the last 6 months. So they started doing research, and this is what they found. Arizona has more accredited college coming in than any other state in the entire United States. We have more technology companies coming in than any other state because we don't have any weather forces affecting their business. We have more arts coming in, and they're actually even putting in another stadium and bringing in more sports. And so what our clients have found through all of their research is, even though the rest of the United States might have some issues with the economy moving forward, Arizona is last on that list of being affected. So I don't know about you, but based on all of their research, sounds like it might be a pretty sound investment for you. What are your thoughts? Are you guys glad this is recorded right now? Because that's a lot, right? She came back to us within probably 2-3 hours and said, my dad will be in town next week. He's purchasing the property with me. We'll be contacting you to go ahead and look at properties. What you said makes sense. And that was that. And of course, we went off to close on something. So the feel, felt, found is just simply empathizing, sharing with them that they're not alone, and then giving them somebody else's story, somebody else's research, somebody else's opinions, not yours. And that keeps you out of you being a salesperson realm. Any questions on feel, felt, found? Good? Okay. Now, the third one is the third-party stories. Sometimes you're going to use third-party stories, not even in a feel, felt, found scenario. Sometimes you just have to let somebody know that they're not alone. Sometimes you need to let them know that their opinion is shared by other people. Yes, and feel, felt, found works with that, but sometimes they just want to hear somebody else's experience. So let's say you have a client that doesn't want to put in a better offer than asking. We have that right now, right? And in this market, we already know they're probably not getting it, the property, if they're not going to put in a legitimate offer, especially if they want to go below asking in this market. And so that's when I like to tell them, oh my goodness, you know what? Bob told me the same thing last week. Bob actually put in an offer for $25,000 less, thinking that he really wanted a good deal. And guess what? Bob got beat out by 17 other offers that were higher than him and lost that property. So let me ask you a question, and here's where you make them feel a loss. Let me ask you a question, because Bob felt a real loss. He was pretty bummed. He didn't want to listen to me. He didn't listen to me. He lost the home. If you lose this home because you don't want to put your best foot forward, are you going to be okay with that? Are you going to be okay with losing this home? And that's where you're literally also taking it away from them at the same time, but you need to stop and listen to what they need to say. You need to stop telling and start selling. You need to start listening and stop talking. So when you put a fact out there, this happened to somebody else, this was somebody else's experience, are you willing to experience the same loss that Bob did? You need to shut your mouth and you need to wait for them to puke all over you. And I know the word puke is gross, but the bottom line is you got to let them get it all out, because if you don't let them get it all out, you don't know what their real thoughts are. And then you're not present with them. Stop thinking about what you're going to say next and start listening to what they're saying to you. And that's what the takeaway, the feel, felt, found, and the third-party stories help you do. They allow them to speak, gives them options, makes them feel like they're not alone. Here's other people's stories, and then you need to shut your mouth and let them talk and tell you their thoughts and feelings. And then you can formulate what you're going to say next, but you better pause first so you don't sound scripted. All right, I'm going to open it up to questions. Those are the 3 techniques that we use in overcoming objections. It doesn't matter what objections it is, guys. Does not matter. I know you guys are sitting here and you're thinking about different clients that you have had that have had different things that they've said to you, that you could have used one of these techniques and knocked it out of the park, right? And you're like, crap, I missed it. It's okay. You'll have another opportunity. So go ahead, throw me your questions.
Tina, can you reiterate those three again? So it's feel, felt, found. And what were the other two?
All right, you've got the takeaway, which is the physical takeaway, the hard takeaway, and the soft takeaway.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Then you've got the feel, felt, found, and you've got the third party stories. And you can use them all in conjunction with each other. Do you guys want to hear one of those? Think about this. You know what? I completely understand how you feel, Sally. Many of my clients have felt the same way, that they didn't want to offer more for the property than what it was being asked. And here's what they found. If they didn't, then they were missing out on the homes that they really, really wanted. And after losing 2, 3, 4 homes, they realized that they were going to have to put their best foot forward and offer the most that they could offer in order to get the home that they really, really wanted. They were tired of losing. Now, I have an idea. It may work for you. It may not. You'll have to let me know, but I'm thinking we could structure this offer where we have an acceleration clause, and I make sure to really, really let that other agent know that that acceleration clause is there. We may also want, and I don't know, but I think this might work. We may want to go ahead and offer that appraisal contingency waiver. That appraisal contingency waiver, we could even put a limit on it to make sure that you don't lose this home that you told me you don't want to lose. And what that means is if the appraisal comes in less than what we're actually offering, we can put a limit on how much you're willing to go over that. At least that would give us some shot against all these other offers. What are your guys' thoughts? See how that works?
Yeah, real quick. I don't know if anybody picks up on that. Tina never uses the word but. It's always and. Whenever you feel yourself going to use the word but, replace it with and. Because the thing is, they will remember everything you say up until that point. And when you say but, they'll forget everything else, and they're only going to remember what comes after that but. So you got to get in the habit of replacing that but with and.
I love that, Steve. You are correct.
So
saying everything after but is BS.
There you go.
That's right.
Everything before that.
Everything before but is BS. Everything after it is probably real. Yes, Paulina.
I've been going to a lot of listing appointments, and the biggest objection is we do want to sell, we don't know where we're going, where we're moving. So they don't want to list their properties because they don't know where they're going. So how would you approach that objection?
Okay, that's it. That's an actually really great one in today's market. And I will tell you guys that I use this technique on 90% of my listings right now. And it works really, really well. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So, Steve and Jackie, I completely understand how you feel. Many of my clients have felt the same way. And what we found was if we offer a 60-day post-occupancy where we make it required that they are allowed to stay in the property for 60 days after the closing to give them time to look for something else, that has been very successful for them. And there has not been one person we have not been able to find a home for. Now, I don't know, is that something that may interest you where we could guarantee that you can stay in that home and make it a requirement if somebody's purchasing to give us 60 days to find you the right home after the fact? Would that work for you?
What if they say it's going to take them longer than that? Because in this market, we have 6 months supply. So what if they say they need more time?
None of my clients have experienced that. The biggest problem when somebody has a home to sell is that there's a contingency. Mm-hmm. And so when you have that contingency, it's harder to get your offers accepted. Now, Steve and Jackie, what I heard you say is that you have quite a bit of equity coming in. So there's a lot of things that we could do to formulate your offers to make them look a lot more attractive. Mm-hmm. And I really don't see, and my clients in the past have not seen that that's going to be an issue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So give them options.
Yep. Give them options. And then guys, you put that in private remarks that it's a requirement. They have to give you their post occupancy offer with their actual offer. And in most cases, we are able to negotiate their post occupancy for free.
Mm-hmm.
We've done, Tina, I don't know what you feel about this. We've done on a couple of occasions a contingency on the sell side. So basically, with the inventory levels the way they are and how tight the market is, we told the buyer, hey, look, you know what I mean? The seller's not obligated to close unless they find an acceptable property. Obviously, you can't indispose somebody, but we've used probably up to 30 days in the past, you know? So we put
I don't like doing it that way, Steve, and here's why. They may never find anything and your clients are stuck waiting. I did have one where one of my agents constructed it that way, and it took us 5 months for them to find something that they could move into where somebody would accept their contingency, because at that point you still have a contingency on that property, which makes it harder for their offers to get accepted. The whole premise of offering a post occupancy is that the property's already closed, takes the contingency off the table, and now it's a competitive offer.
I'm saying on the sell side though, is that what, representing the sellers?
Right.
Right.
You can
all the risk is on the buyer. You know what I mean? If I'm representing the sellers, I mean, what do you think about that?
But any smart agent would be like, what if you never find anything? We're not going to be tied into that. Or you lose buyers because of that.
Understood. But just remember what you just said. Nothing against anybody, you know? But yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it is something we've done before.
Well, and Steve, my question to you is, if you can get them a post occupancy to where they don't have that contingency anymore. Now, if they don't have a contingency, that works all day long for your seller. But the bottom line is, I don't know about you guys, but in my market, I can't get anything with the contingency accepted to save my life.
Oh, true. Understood.
So
that's the same here. Same here.
Why would I put my sellers in that position where I keep getting them like all excited and they keep getting disappointed when I can just close on their property and we have 60 days to find something to make them a competitive offer?
Tina, how open are, okay, so you're representing the seller, you got a post-closing, post-occupancy.
Mm-hmm.
How open are the buyers to that? I mean, what do you find as you're doing that? I mean, are they flexible enough?
They are.
With their move time?
Yep.
You know, because some buyers want to move in right away, 30 days to close, et cetera, And
that's not the property for them. We have so many buyers in this market, and I know you guys do too. You're not going to have problems getting buyers that are agreeing to that. But I do want to caution you, and maybe you'll get 5 offers as opposed to 10 offers. Okay. And when I'm getting offers, I pick up the phone or I text the other agent and I'm like, listen, I just want to remind you that we have a 60-day post-occupancy requirement, and the terms of that post-occupancy are part of the negotiations.
Tina, real quick, when you're saying post-occupancy, are you actually talking about a lease option sale, basically? And the reason why you only go 60 days, because anything past 60 days, the seller has to buy as an investor, correct?
Correct. Absolutely. And by the way, the lenders never see that paperwork. They don't want to see it. They don't want to hear about it. Like they don't want to see the post-occupancy agreement. And EXP does require that in a lease form. And just so you guys know, I always let my sellers know up front that they're going to have to put anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 in an escrow holdback until they move out of the property, to protect the buyers as well, so that they feel comfortable, because like I said, most of them are negotiated at free rent. I would say 90% of my listings are 60-day post-occupancy. And I just had one where we just asked for their escrow holdback yesterday, actually. And I would say that probably 77% of those, it's free rent. And the other ones, it's maybe $1,000 a month, because it becomes part of.
I would agree with you, Tina.
Yeah. Which part, Emmanuel?
In this market right now, I mean, with so much competition, whenever I have a listing, all the buyers and all the offers that are coming in understand that in order to win that house, you might have to give up some post occupancy, and it might have to be for free. And I think the majority of the offers that we've accepted when post occupancy has been a factor, we've gotten it for free.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that you, as a buyer's agent on the other side, need to advise your client that, hey, we're probably going to have to give that up if you really want this house.
Yep. And it becomes making,
especially when you're coming up against, sorry about that, especially when you're also going up against cash offers.
Mm-hmm. 100%. I've even had people send me an offer on one of my listings saying, we'll give you 90 days. Like whatever it takes to get this home, we'll give you whatever it takes.
You put
you also have a great opportunity with the agent on the other side who wants to make this deal happen, and having a conversation with them, saying something along the lines of, gosh, I mean, it'd be very, very attractive if we were able to have the post occupancy. I mean, they're financing, so they're not going to have a housing expense for 45 to possibly close to 60 days.
Mm-hmm.
Let's let that transfer to the seller. And it's almost another $5-6 grand of the offer. I'll convey that to my seller that they're basically getting $4,000 to $5,000 worth of housing for free. And if we go longer than that, then we end up discussing a rent scenario. But that's a whole other conversation. But remember, you have an ally on the other side that you can talk to and help them formulate the something that's going to be acceptable and work with their buyer to make your seller happy. You've got an eager person. You've got an eager person on the other side. So always remember that.
Tina,
absolutely. Yes.
I just want to interrupt for a second. Marley's had her hand up for a second. So I just want to see if Marley has a question ready.
Awesome.
Marley, are you still with us? Okay, I'm going to lower the hand. Oh, and now everyone's raising their hands. Okay, go for it, Saul.
Okay, no, I just want to say I just recently signed a contract here in Florida where rather than a post occupancy, there's a 4-month close. He wasn't sure that he was going to be able to find a house. The seller wasn't sure. He wanted to have ample time to do that. And really, that's up to the buyer. And the buyer wants a house. I can have a pick of buyers. Nobody, most people, particularly where I am, where they're more vacation type homes, they don't care if it's going to be 2 months, 6 months, whatever it is. So rather than a post occupancy, you could just say we can do on or before 4 months from effective date. That's another approach.
It is, but here's where I want to caution you. If they're getting a loan and they have to sell that property, it's contingent on that property selling. So now you're 4 months out. Anything can happen in that 4 months. Their offer is still contingent on that home selling. Whereas if you close, you have the post occupancy. Number one, you get paid. Number two, your client has the money in hand. Number three, now their offers are not contingent. So be careful with how long you postpone closings out.
Like I said, South Florida, so it's all cash deals.
Okay. But anything can happen in that 4 months.
Right. Sure.
Anything can happen. Guys, the longer you allow something to extend out, the more chance that something's going to happen to make that property not close. All right. I like my 30-day closes. I don't care if they're cash, then it's 14 days. Even if there's a post occupancy, I want that property closed so that I know that it's going to close, so that I know that my client's not wasting their time and moving forward, whether they're the buyer or the seller. I want it closed. So be careful with extending out.
Thank you. Emmanuel, you have yours up, your hand? You guys are so funny.
Yes.
I mentioned one person had their hand up and now like everyone does.
No, I like it. It actually
I had it up earlier, but I didn't know if you guys have seen it. So
I can't find the right hand.
So Tina, quick question, just to kind of go back to the scenario where you represent the seller, right? The listing side.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a scenario like we're talking about where they need to sell in order to buy. Can you kind of go over again that conversation? Because normally in those scenarios, I, in a nice way, of course, always explain to the sellers that at some point, you know, we kind of have to take that leap of faith because we have to put the property on the market. You know, we can't go submitting offers to new homes if our house isn't listed, or potentially we would want it under contract at the very minimum, right? So how do you have that conversation where you're saying, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, go ahead.
Throw the exact objection at me.
Well, you know, we've been looking at houses on the market. There's really nothing out there that I like, and I don't want to accept an offer with say a 30 or 60 days post occupancy, and at the end of those 60 days, I still don't have a place to go.
So there's nothing on the market that they like.
Right.
Like in their price.
Picky sellers.
Picky sellers.
Well, it could be a combination of both. It could be picky sellers where they want, you know, turnkey, move-in ready, and obviously those are the homes that are going to have 30 offers on it, or price point where, you know, they
at that point, man, you start looking for
too
rent.
much.
Yeah, start looking for rentals. But here's the other thing: you might have to move up in price point too to get exactly what they want. And sometimes it's hard to get that client to understand that unless you make them feel a little bit of pain or help them empathize with other people that have been in their situation. And so with somebody like that, Emmanuel, I've realized that I have to go up in price point to get them exactly what they want and to have more properties showing up on the market that they may be interested in more so. And so that's a conversation where I'd probably say with them, you know, I completely understand how you feel and the fear behind that. And go ahead and identify the feeling that they're experiencing. And, you know, I've had other clients, just recently I had one that felt the same way as you. And what they found was they weren't finding properties that they were really loving because the market had priced up so much that they weren't looking in the right price point for what they were truly looking for. Now, here's what they found also. And the fear was if they didn't sell their property at the price that it is now, they weren't going to have as much money to put down. So they needed to take advantage of where the market is right now, right? But they also found that they had to go up a little bit in their price point of what they were looking for, because what they were looking for was not where we were searching. So I don't know your thoughts on that, but maybe it might be a good idea to up our search price a little bit just to see what's out there and see if more things come up for you. Because just like them, I would hate for you to lose on where the market is now on the property you want to sell. So let's go ahead and take advantage of that and move you towards the property that you really want and desire.
Right. And I mean, I always try to give them confidence that, I mean, I never like to say the word never, but I've never had it happen where we can't find you a home within the period. But you got to be careful with that, because then if it happens,
but I
then
want
you're like,
you
oh
to
my God.
Change it. Emmanuel, I want you to change it into third-party stories, because right now it's you telling them your opinion. Third-party stories are giving them other people's opinion.
Right, exactly.
So just change that tiny little thing and it'll make all the difference in how they respond to you.
Got it.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Who else?
Yeah, Tina, just a real quick question on process. So you had the conversation during the listing appointment with the seller about post-occupancy. Do you put that in the realtor remarks on your listings to let any potential buyers know that this is in place?
Private remarks.
Private remarks. Yeah, realtor.
Because
only.
I got a $250 fine from MLS because Mariah didn't input it and I input it in the wrong spot. It has to be private.
Well, the private realtor only remarks. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, just wondering.
Thank God for assistance, right?
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely. And like I said, when I get offers, if they don't have the post-occupancy documents with the offer, I want to see it with the offer. If they don't have it, I'm picking up the phone and calling that agent and saying, hey, just wanted to make sure that you saw that we're requiring a 60-day post-occupancy. Those terms are part of this negotiation as we have several offers. I need to see that documentation with your offer.
Very good.
I want it all tightened up as we're accepting. I don't want anything left to negotiations after the fact.
Right.
I like very streamlined, right? Efficiency. Nothing can go wrong. All right, throw me another one, guys. You can do it.
So what is it that you were putting in the remarks? You said private remarks. Is it the occupancy thing?
The 60-day post-occupancy. Yep. Okay. Yeah, because you have to disclose it, but it has to be in private remarks. Okay. All right, throw me some more objections, guys.
The last agent that was here said they do it for 4.5% commission.
For a 4% commission?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know, I get that said to me all the time. And it was interesting. I recently just had a client that they had accepted somebody else's offer of 4%. And they went ahead and went that direction, and they didn't get the marketing strategies. They didn't get the open houses. They didn't get the attention. They were getting a ton of offers in. They could never get a hold of their agent. And finally they called me back and they were like, I can't do this anymore. I need to cancel this listing. I should have went with you all along. I mean, I don't know about you, but that seems like a lot of frustration, a lot of work, and a lot of time wasted. Is that the direction that you'd rather go, is with somebody like that? Or would you rather a true professional handle this listing for you that is truly going to give you the service and marketing and delivery of the delivery that you deserve?
Where do I sign? You get what
it's funny. For. It's funny because I always see that. I'm like, oh, you're ready to move forward. I mean, I have a listing agreement in my car. Do you want me to go get it? I never bring the listing agreement into my listing presentation, just so you guys know. I always have one in the car.
Why?
Because their task tension is high and they see you as a salesperson if you have the listing agreement with you. If you leave it in the car, it lets them believe in their mind that their task tension is down and you're not a car salesperson or like every other agent that they've met that's been trying to stuff it down their throat to sign the damn thing.
Meanwhile, you have 15 of them in your car.
Of course I
ready to go, right?
I have 5 purchase agreements and I have 5 listing packages in my car at all times. And so do all of my agents. And guys, this was the funniest thing ever. In Melbourne, somebody actually asked the question, is it legal to sign with a pen on a contract? Yes, it is legal to have people hand sign agreements. So here's what I want to say to you guys. Always strike while the iron is hot. If somebody looks at you, like at most of my listing presentations, and I have a 96.6% close rate on my listing presentation. And so when I am at a listing presentation, they usually look at me at the end and they're like, so how do we move forward? How do we proceed? And I'm like, oh, I have a listing agreement in my car. Do you want me to go get it? And they're like, yes, please. And so I go out to my car, I come back, I'm filling it out in front of them. They're all excited. They sign it. I scan it right there with my phone on Tiny Scan so that it's all ready to everybody that it needs to go to while I'm sitting with them. I do the same thing with purchase agreements, guys. If I'm in a home and somebody says to me, this is it, this is the home I want, no hesitation. I'm like, you know, I have a purchase agreement in my car. Would you like me to go get it? We just can take care of this right now. And I can explain it all to you. And if they say yes, I'm going to my car and getting the purchase agreement and I'm having them sign it right then. I'm not going to make them wait 2 hours while I drive home, fill out the documents, send them over for signatures. And then they never sign the damn thing because they had all this time to think about it. You don't give them time to think about it. Strike while the iron is hot.
One of the things before sometimes, go ahead.
Okay, hold on.
Hi, this is Chris. I just have a comment. I am seeing a lot of commissions that are, 1.5%, 1 3/4, and 2% in my market. I'm in South Florida. That's being offered by the listing agents, and there are a lot of top listing agents that are doing this. So I'm curious to see if any of you in other markets are seeing that too.
I will list as low as 4% right now, guys. The average commission in my market is 2 to 2.5% on each side, and I will list for 4%, 2 and 2. And here's the bottom line.
On that?
Well, hold on just a second. Here's how I do it though. I will be sitting at the listing appointment and they'll be like, well, can you do a 5% or can you do a 4%? And I will look at them with my agent and I'm like, okay, let me ask you a question. This is an important question. And then I can answer your question. And they're like, okay, what? Well, I'm going to assume, and you're going to have to tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to assume that if we sell this property, you are going to be purchasing your home with us as well. Is that correct? And they're like, well, yeah, absolutely. All right. And you're willing to sign a buyer broker agreement? Yes. Okay. So because you're willing to purchase your next home with us, I will do this listing for 4%. And what that would look like is 2 and 2, with the understanding that with the listing agreement, you're also signing a buyer broker agreement. And then I will list it for 4%.
Tina, I just want to say.
Oh, hold on, Lisa. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yes, I just wanted to whoever addressed that question, we're going to get smart. We're going to have to start charging the buyers. I mean, you treat them, I treat my buyers the way I treat my listing. I mean, why assume that the listing agent has to be the one that paid for it? So doing your consultation, and I did this 7 years ago with Keller Williams. So, you know, tell them you're going to work with me. I'm going to get you what you want. This is the fee. You're going to pay 1% because the seller is not paying my fee, all my fee. So we're going to have to get smart because this is the way it is. And it's going to move forward. You're going to be left out without a paycheck. Okay. So we're going to have to come up and strategize on another call, so everybody can get comfortable with it.
Well, and Lisa, let me say this too. Whenever we have a seller's market as it is right now, 21 years in the business, okay, commissions always get hit on the listing side during a high seller's market. They always come back up. This is not going to be forever. We're not always going to be stuck at a 1.5%, 2%, 2.5% listing on our side. It will come back up to normal levels again as the market, starts to shift. And the market is going to shift, guys. It is. Are we going to have a crash? No. But are we going to see where it starts to stabilize a little bit and we go back to a normal market? Yes, we are.
Tina, if I can here.
Emmanuel, yes.
Yes, quick. This is just my personal opinion. Obviously, we're all, individual business owners, if you will, and not everyone, but most people that I know will negotiate commissions, or there's others that will stand firm on that 6%. With that being said, for those that know me and at least in our group with the Saperstein group, know that my wife used to be with Redfin before she came over to EXP. Redfin does 4%, right? And I know what a lot of agents say, oh, well, they're not as professional, or we're going to do X, Y, and Z more. Listen, BS at the end of the day, excuse my language, because they are professionals and they will sell your house and they will sell it for more, especially in this market. So I say all of that to say this. We have to be smart and acknowledge the competition, okay? There's great agents out there. There's great companies out there. And sometimes it's better to build the relationship, in my opinion, and at least get the sell. I'm not saying to do it for 1%, but be smart about it, knowing that potentially that could turn into 5, 6, 7 deals, and you'll more than make back whatever you reduce your commission by, right? Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of agents that sometimes, and excuse me for saying this, but kind of let the ego get in the way, and you potentially lose a deal like that. What one thing that we do, and I learned this from the group, is sometimes when you're finding a seller that has interviewed other agents and they don't want to pay 6%, sometimes you could do the tiered commission is what we call it, right? Where maybe you don't go as low, maybe you just do a 5%, Or maybe you say, hey, Mr. Seller, if I bring you the buyer, I'll reduce it to 4. So, you know, it gives them the idea that potentially they can save so much. And at the end of the day, you're probably just going to deal with another agent and do it for 5. That's a couple of approaches that I personally do it. But again, I know not all agents are the same.
Right. And we've used menu-based pricing, which gets people to call. Menu-based pricing starts at 4% and goes up to 7%. I think it's 4% and goes up to 7%. And it's literally a menu with different colors, different packages. And just to get the phone to ring. So when we're at open houses, we'll have like little flyers out there to say, ask us about our menu-based listing prices, because people want the option of not paying for what they don't think they need, even though when you sit down and you present it and you show what the 6% gets for compared to the 4%, they're like, well, no, I do want all of that. Okay, great. And if somebody from my team sells it, then we'll do it. We'll discount it a percentage, right? But you've got to let us do open houses in order to give us the opportunity to do that. So we have our menu-based pricing. We don't do, like, they always get professional photos. We can't say that they don't or anything like that, but they get professional photos. They get a sign in the yard. They're not getting open houses. They're not getting extra marketing. They're not getting anything. Right. And then you go up to the 5%, you offer a little bit more. And then you go up to the 6%, you offer everything. And then in the 7%, that's where they need professional staging and everything else. And that's a 7%er. Nobody ever goes for the 7%. It's there because we want them to see that we're not trying to sell them on the highest one. Nobody ever wants to go with the 4% either, because they're like, well, I don't want to be the bottom guy. Like, I don't want to be that guy. Right. So that has worked very effectively in our market. I've actually been doing that strategy for 4 years.
So at a smart approach. Quick question. What is, and I'm in the Orlando market, what is the other brokerage I was with? They had a minimum amount of co-op, like the broker would not want us to accept anything under 2%. So we could do a 4% listing or better. What is the minimum that, does anybody know, that our broker will allow, or
they get paid? They have to get paid a certain minimum amount. I want to say it's $590 or something like that. Yes. Is the minimum with EXP.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So you may not make anything, but EXP is getting that fee for their admin.
Okay. Yeah. I'm new to EXP, so that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah. And I only know that because I was looking it up recently for somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
So Tina,
Lisa.
Yeah, so I believe in that flexible fee structure because it's on my pre-listing package. And I believe everyone should have a pre-listing package, because when you get there, you just go over it again. Say, hey, did you see what my structures were? You know, because that's a conversation right there. They already know in their mind, you know, if they want, you know, the 6%, 5%, or 4%, what it's laid out in front of them without you having the fear to talk about it. So having it prepared before you go there, it's always worked for me.
Well, and I want you guys to understand also that drivers always want options. They want to feel in control, your high Ds. So putting that menu in front of them is like, okay, I get to choose. Now they're always going to choose the best because they're not going to do the bottom. They're not. Then you have your amiables who like that there's a choice, but understand they're going to need 5 people there in order to decide which package they're going with. Okay. Then you have your analyticals who are like, well, do you have research on like how those are working? So you have to be careful who you present that in front of. Your expressives are going to go for the highest one every time. As a matter of fact, I don't want to do professional staging and everything. So I have to I'm looking at an expressive and I'm like, no, you're not doing the 7%. Nobody does the 7%. Now that's a baby negative. I'm protecting them from themselves. I look like a champion because I'm not letting them overspend and I'm still getting them to the 6%. Plus, understand when you walk into a listing presentation, everybody's question in their back of their mind is, what's this going to cost me? So by having the menu-based pricing right there on the table, you're already combating that before they even have to ask you the question. They appreciate that because they understand that you understand them. Yes, Terry.
I have actually listed here from one of our other EXP agents a menu of services. And if I don't know if anybody wants to take a look, I'll share it if I can figure out how to do that. But it's a 5%, a 6%, and a 7%.
That's
base.
actually from me.
It is from you. Okay, that's
Somebody.
what I thought. Yeah. So it's here, but I know you had given it out some time ago.
And is it the red, the gold, the like, does it have colors?
It has silver, gold, and platinum.
Yep, that's mine.
Okay, yep, I've got it
Can
here.
you share that with everybody, Terry? Do you know how to share that?
No idea. But let me see if I can, maybe, do I just drop it into, I'll figure it out. Let me
You
get it.
should be able to hit the little page button right there when you're in chat.
Okay.
Or you can send
You
it to
bring it
Tiffany
in?
and she can pop it into everybody.
Okay.
Right, Tiffany?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, awesome. Okay. All right, guys, we're a little over in time right now for me. So do you guys have anything else for me right now? What do you have? Oh, by the way, we just scheduled Boca. What? So we're going to be doing relationship real estate in Boca. Jonathan, what are the dates?
March 22nd and 23rd.
Yep, March 22nd.
Woo-hoo, I'll be there. That's the one you canceled on me.
Yes, girl. So it's been a little crazy, but Jonathan helped us find a venue, which we're very excited about. Tony Del Falco has all of our sponsors for that event. We're very excited about that. We needed to find a different venue. We weren't happy with the venue that we were going with. They just weren't working with us on what we needed. Jonathan, where's it going to be? And I'll be putting this in Eventbrite.
We are currently hosting at the Palm Beach Convention Center.
Yep. So we're super excited. And thank you for many of your emails, your Facebook messages, your Instagram messages, letting me know how everything is going with you guys on different trainings that I've done, the successes that you're having. I love hearing those stories. That's what fuels me. That's what fires me. We are also getting ready to schedule another Orlando one by popular request. I want you guys to know last week when we were in Tampa, everybody but two were from Orlando. So Elizabeth Riley was there and she spoke. So you guys missed out. That was awesome. I think I might be able to get her to come to another one.
It might even be Palm Beach. We don't know.
It might even be Palm Beach. Her and I are going to schedule that. She's also